it's just, but I think there's a lot of states that they didn't take the same smart approach to, they just wanted to do widespread mandates. 1 second. Yeah. All right, there you go. There we go. You are good. You're set.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There you go. No, not at all. You're healthy.
COVID-19 isn't just affecting Democrats or Republicans or no-party voters. It's all of us and our families. And so I think that we would all be better off if it weren't politicized.
You don't politicize this. You do not. You look out for your people. And you look out for their needs and the specific population needs.
Well, the fact is that wearing a face mask and following the advice of medical experts shouldn't be political. Like, politics has no role in protecting the public health and following the advice of medical experts.
I mean, yeah, it shouldn't be a political thing, but it is because it's America and it's 2020, so everything is, so.
That's just the nature of things. I think, pandemic or not, war or not, you look at past issues that have caused millions of lives, to the United States in the past. They're always politicized, especially when elections come up like this.
I mean, I think it's smart by the Biden campaign to use COVID-19 because we've seen just like what a failure Trump has done with this pandemic. We've seen the numbers of lives that have been lost, over 200,000 people. We've seen just the terrible drop in the economy and the rise in unemployment, and folks are just not living good lives right now during this pandemic, and people know that.
People say Trump is a more polarizing candidate, which I wouldn't disagree. But, it is what it is.
It does show a total failure of Trump as a leader of this country. But yeah, I mean, I'm also not surprised that Trump would be like, a mass denier. That's just like kind of his brand, I guess, like anti-science.
So we are learning that at the end of the day, it is not nearly as severe as a lot of us thought it was at the beginning. The impact of the shutdowns and the impact of any politician who wants to say that they care about people, so therefore they care about the shutdown.
On our campaign, we took steps really early on to pull back events from in-person to virtual. And I think that, I would have loved to see everyone across the board, regardless of political affiliation, do the same.
There are millions of people whose lives have been negatively affected by shutdowns versus hundreds of thousands of people who have gotten sick, which I'm not demeaning because I've had plenty of friends who've had it. And I know it sucks, for lack of a better term, it sucks.
Senator Ernst said that this was Democrats just trying to stir up the panic. Months later, she said that Iowa has, quote, fared pretty well. And it's just, again, a lack of seriousness of how they're taking it and how politics has worked the way into the response.
And I consider myself very lucky that we lived in a state with a governor that did understand she needed to look out for the virus and also look out for the well-being of her people.
I think that I wish that the federal government had acted sooner and acted more decisively. I think that a lot of states and a lot of people and a lot of businesses would have been better served by more clear guidance from the get-go.
Well, I look at a lot of different numbers. I know a lot of people pay close attention to the increase in cases. I'm more focused on the increase in deaths. Obviously I'm symptomatic to the cases. I wear a mask, not necessarily for my own protection, but for the protection of others and for their tranquility, I suppose. But overall, I think things are going okay. Obviously, we've seen a spike in cases here in Iowa, but as far as the death rate, I believe the death rate has actually been decreasing steadily since March.
And we have been in the red zone, according to a White House report, for weeks now, that we are facing one of the worst spreads in the country. And as we've seen this week, we have some of the increasingly spiking hospitalizations of deaths. We've had multiple days in a row where our new cases are over 2,000 cases a day. And one of the simplest ways we can contain the spread is by wearing face masks.
But at this point, my thoughts really haven't changed in the past 3-4 months after that initial kind of shock that COVID gave us.
Yeah, I think COVID is a big threat. I know a lot of people have been affected by it. I know people who have died from COVID-19. So I definitely believe that it's, a threat that we need to take super seriously. I think we've seen a total failure at the state level by our governor, Kim Reynolds, COVID Kim, as some might call her. She's done a terrible job throughout this entire pandemic. She's cared more about making money and making sure that business interests are protected in the economy rather than the people and the health of Iowans who should be focused on.
I was like, let's shut things down until we figure out what this is. But then once we started finding out that a lot of the things we thought it wasn't, and you know, the majority of people who catch it experience it in terms of a moderate to severe to non-existent flu, and then they go about their daily lives, and I was like, we can manage this without shutting down the country.